Welcome back to my channel. This is Professor Musaddiq with the fourth lecture of the lecture series that has been termed as English Usage. And I also deem it worthwhile to mention here that these lectures are intended to deal with the problems of writing and speaking in the formal environments. And the audience is of course expected to be the users of English as a second language. Now, so far in the previous three lectures, we have dealt with the situations where sentences had simple subjects. I mean, the subjects were not compounded and coordinated with each other. Now, in this lecture, we are going to deal with the some situations where the subjects are usually more than one. Compound subjects. They are called compound subjects. I shall be presenting you some sentences where there is a problem whether the verb will agree with the first subject or the second subject. And I have already mentioned that as a users of second language, we are inclined to think that the verb usually agrees with the nearest subject. But this is not always the case. Or we are also inclined to think that if the subject is more than one, they will be considered plural, as in the case of and. But again, this is not the case. And what exactly is the case? This is going to be seen in this lecture. And to make the matter convenient for you people, I would like to mention that the rules that are going to be highlighted in this lecture are exactly linked to the rules that were brought before you in the previous lecture, in lecture number 3. So revise lecture number 3 and then come to this lecture and you will have some easy time dealing with the sentences that are going to come before you just now. So without any delay, let's move to the example sentences. This is the first example sentence. Sentence number 1 says that the captain as well as the other players was tired. Now what is the problem? What exactly is the problem? The problem is that there are two subjects. The first subject here is the captain, a simple noun phrase, the captain. So it will be called subject 1. And the second subject again is a simple noun phrase, the other players. So there are two subjects, the captain, the other players. Now the problem is that whether the choice of was is correct or incorrect. Because if it is correct, it means that it is going to agree with the first subject, the captain. If it does not agree with the captain, it has to agree with the players and it will be were. Was or were? This is the question. If it is was, then the sentence is correct. If it should be were, the sentence is definitely incorrect and it has to be rewritten in order to make it grammatically acceptable and correct. The second sentence is the president together with his advisors. Again, the subject contains two things. The president, advisors. The president is singular. His advisors, plural. The verb seems to agree with the nearest subject, advisors. The problem again is the same. Whether this verb are has to agree with the nearest one, advisors, or the first subject, the president. So this is to be found out. We will come back to these sentences, do not worry. I'm not going to tell you just now whether the sentence is correct or incorrect. It is up to you. I'm just explaining the sentence and presenting the problem. The problem has to be solved by you. Let's see how many sentences can you correct. The third sentence, the generals and not the PM decides government policy. Same situation is being presented again. The generals, this is first subject. The PM, the Prime Minister, the second subject. First subject, the generals, is plural. The second subject, Prime Minister, is singular. And the verb decides. What is it? It is singular. It is singular, it means that seemingly it agrees with the nearest one, the Prime Minister. Now you have to decide whether this sentence is correct or incorrect. We'll come back to the sentence again. At the end of all the example sentences, I shall bring a rule before you. Now that rule will be applied by you on all these sentences. You will come back to them and then you will decide whether your choice of singular or plural verb was correct or incorrect. Here I just want my viewers to deduce the rules, to draw out the rules, read the sentence and decide what is exactly the rule that is prevailing in any given example sentence. So try to deduce the rule, try to decide what is going on in the sentence. Now, the next sentence is John, along with his brothers, was responsible for the loss. John, singular subject, right? His brothers, plural subject. What is the verb? The verb is singular. It means that it agrees with the first subject. Now, in some cases, the verb agrees with the first subject, and in other cases, it agrees with the second subject, the nearest one. So, you have to decide which sentence conveys proper sense, which sentence seems natural. Sixth sentence is the parents and not the child. The parents, plural subject. The child, singular subject. The verb is singular. So it seems to agree with the nearest one, the child. Does it seem natural? Does it seem acceptable as far as natural language usage is concerned? As far as your reading and your listening is concerned? I told you in the very first lecture of this lecture series that input skills, reading and listening, are also as important as output skills, writing and speaking, because as long as there is no input, there will be no proper output. So if the incorrect version of the sentence seems correct to you, it means that you have to work hard on your input skills. Come to the next sentence. It is both these works, in addition to one previous book, constitutes significant evidence of the writer's greatness. So the first subject here is these works, both these works, plural subject, and the second subject is previous book, singular subject, and the verb agrees with the nearest one, constitutes. I told you in the second lecture. Come to the second lecture, go to the second lecture, watch it closely, and then decide whether this verb constitutes a singular or plural. It is singular because it has s added with it. I told you in that lecture that addition of s with the verb makes the verb singular. So it is a singular verb. The singular verb should agree with the singular subject. Where is the singular subject in this sentence? Book. This is singular subject. So it means that this verb tends to agree with the nearest one. So you have to decide whether the sentence is natural or unnatural, grammatical, ungrammatical, acceptable or unacceptable. Come to the next sentence now. Neither the USA nor her allies. Her allies, why? Is the United States of America a woman or a girl? No, but the pronoun for a country is either it or she. So we are using her allies. So what exactly do we mean by allies? Allies means friends, supporters, companions, the one who go with you in all circumstances. So again, the problem is the same almost, except for the choice of connectors. The United States of America, the USA, subject 1, and her allies, subject 2. The choice of verb is singular. It seems that the verb tends to agree with the United States of America, the USA. It is singular. It is the name of one country, the USA. Do not be confused with the states, the United States of America, because that S is confusing one. I told you this very thing in the second lecture. Now the verb is singular. What is it? Was. Singular verb. And it seems to be according to the first subject, the USA, because allies, these are plural, and it does not agree with the nearest one. So let's see in our second round whether the sentence is correct or incorrect. The next sentence, number 8. Either the government or the unions need to step back. Subject 1. The government, singular. The unions, plural. The verb, plural. Because if it had been singular, it would have taken s with it, needs. So if it is plural, it means that it is according to the nearest one, unions. So decide whether it is correct or incorrect. Move to the next one. Not only the sinful but also the innocent has to bear the brunt when the doom strikes. Again, the subjects are 2 in number. The first one is the sinful. The next one is the innocent. And has, it means The choice is according to singular, and it seems that the sinful and the innocent both are singular because there is no s added to them. As I told you that the addition of the s with the verb makes the verb singular, I told you in the same way that the addition of ses or ies with the nouns may make the noun plural. So there is no s added to any of either of these subjects. So it seems that they are singular. Okay, let's come to this point again. Number 10. All the students except the proctor himself is ready to depart for the trip. All the students, plural, proctor, singular, is, this is verb. Is it correct or incorrect? Decide. We'll come to it in the second round, of course. Now the next sentence is, these sentences are actually the last pair of the sentences in this lecture. Not only the capital but also the other major cities has been affected by the new wave of terrorism. Now the first subject is the capital city, singular. Major cities, plural. The choice of verb seems to be according to singular. So singular is first subject, the capital. The second 12th sentence, second sentence of this screen is study notes, plural. Okay, including any helpful material, singular. Choice of verb is according to singular. It means that it agrees with the nearest one. Makes our work easier when we have to revise the same topic again in the future. If you think that I have gone through all these sentences too quickly, too rapidly, you can pause the screen and read the sentence again and again if you feel any confusion in any of the given sentences. Now, if you have gone through all the sentences conveniently with me, it seems that you are ready. You might have deduced some rules in your mind. Do these rules exactly match the rules that are there in English grammar? Look at the rules now. Here are the rules. The choice of verb with either of the subject or any of the given subject given in the sentence depends precisely on the choice of connector. If connector is any of these given words, the verb will agree with the first one, first subject. I have used either or any. It means that if the subjects are 2 in number, the verb will agree with the first one. And either means one of two. Any means one of many. Because it can be there. It can be the situation that there are more than 2 subjects in the sentence. What will you do then? The choice again is very simple. The verb agrees with the first subject. It does not matter. It does not matter whether the subjects are 2, 3, 4 or more than 4 even. The subject-verb agreement dictates that the verb in this case will agree with the first subject. So whatever the first subject is, the verb agrees with this one. And this will happen. This rule will come into action only when the connector between the subjects is any of these words, as well as with, along with, together with, in addition to, except, not or and not. If anything is enclosed in brackets, it means that its existence is optional. It can be there, it cannot be there. And not or not, including, excluding. So all these connectors require the verb to agree with the first subject. Now I told you a short while ago that the rules presented in this lecture are directly connected with the lecture number 3. So what did we study in lecture number 3? We studied that there were some curtains. I taught you to put some brackets right before the relative clause, start of relative clause or start of preposition phrase. So this case is exactly the same here. Now the nature of curtain, the appearance of a curtain is changed only, not anything else. The appearance of curtain there was in that lecture was in the form of preposition phrase or in the form of relative clause. Here these curtains are in some different shapes, so it does not matter. Just learn to apply the rules. The second rule that is going to be applied in the sentences that have been covered by us is this one. If there are subjects that are being connected by any of these connectors, neither nor, either or, not only but also, the verb will agree with the nearest one. Again, it does not matter whether the subjects are 2, 3, 4 or more than 4. The verb is going to agree with the nearest one. So that proximity rule that automatically works in the minds of users of second language, English as a second language, definitely applies here. In real sense of the word, the verb tends to agree with the nearest subject, whatever it is. So I mean to say, if first subject is singular, second subject is plural, the verb will be plural. Okay? If first subject is plural, second subject is singular, the verb will be singular, and so on. So revise these words: neither nor, either or, not only but also. These connectors dictate that the verb will agree with the nearest subject. So come back to the sentences that we have just discussed and now decide, in the light of all the available rules, 2 available rules, not many. There are 2 only available rules, and in the light of these rules, let's decide whether the sentence is correct or incorrect. The first sentence was captain as well as the other players. Look at the rule. What does the rule say? The rule says that in the case of as well as, right? As well as. What is the sentence? The captain as well as the other players. So as well as, the presence of this connector dictates that the verb will agree with the first subject. What is the first subject? The first subject is captain. Is the subject captain singular or plural? It is singular. So the verb must also be singular, and this exactly is the case in this sentence. It means the sentence is correct. There is no problem in this sentence. The second sentence was the president together with his advisors are preparing a statement on the crisis. Now there are 2 subjects: the president, first subject, singular, second subject, advisors, plural. What does the rule say? The rule says, okay, what is the connector? Together with. Together with. What does the rule say in the case of together with? Here, together with. What will happen? The verb will agree with the first subject, subject 1. The first subject is singular, the president. It is singular. The verb must be singular, but this is not the case. As you can see, are, right? Are. It is not singular. What is it? It is plural, are, and it seems to agree with the advisors, but the presence of together with prohibits this action. This cannot be so. Are must be made is. So this sentence was not correct. The president together with his advisors is preparing a statement on the crisis. Come to the next sentence. The generals, subject 1, plural, and not the PM, singular. PM is singular, the generals, plural. And not or and not. This was also present in the first screen of the rules. Not or and not. Where is it? Here is it. And not. So again, the rule says that the verb must be according to the first subject, the general, plural, but decides. I repeat the rule. The rule is that the addition of s with the verb makes the verb singular. Decides. This is singular subject. This does not agree with the generals, so the s must be removed. What will we do? S will be removed. Decide. The generals decide government policy in their country. John, along with his brothers. Again, along with was also present in the first screen of rules. Where is along with? Along with or with. Here it is. So the sentence is John along with his brothers. John, singular. Brothers, plural. The verb must agree with the first subject. What is John? Is John singular or plural? It is singular. The verb must also be singular, and this exactly is the case in this sentence. The sentence is correct. John was. Now, fifth sentence was the parents and not the child. Again, and not. And not also dictates that the verb must agree with the first subject. What is the first subject? The parents, not child. The verb does not agree with the child here. The parents, plural, the verb must also be plural. The parents, not is, rather are. The sentence was not correct. Now it has been corrected. It has been made grammatically acceptable and correct. Accurate. Both these works, in addition to one previous book, constitutes significant evidence. Due to the presence of this in addition to, this connector also dictates that the verb should agree with the first subject. The first subject was both these works, plural, but the verb here is singular. Why? Because it has an S added to it, and S with the verb says that the verb is singular. We need a plural verb because it has to agree with the first subject. We need a singular subject and singular verb. Have I messed everything? Yes, I have, successfully. Viewers, the verb is singular. First subject is plural. There is no agreement, so it has to be corrected. Works constitute, not constitutes. So it is incorrect sentence. Constitute, now sentence is correct. Both these works constitute. Sentence number 7. Neither the USA nor her allies. Now the verb must agree with the nearest one. Why? Because there is a rule. Neither nor, either or, not only but also. So go back to the sentence. Sentence was neither the USA. Now what matters is the nearest subject. What is the nearest subject? It is allies. Is it singular or plural? It is plural. The verb must also be plural. It is not. So it is not correct. It has to be corrected. Her allies, neither the USA nor her allies were, not was, were ready to make the first move. Okay. Next sentence again. Either or also had the same rule as neither nor. Either the government, singular subject, but it does not matter as far as the subject verb agreement is concerned. Unions, is it singular or plural? It is of course plural. Unions, plural. Need, plural, because addition of S with the need will make it singular. Now it is plural. It means the sentence is correct. It is correct. The next and fourth last sentence of this lecture is not only the sinful, again not only but also. What is the rule? The rule says that in the presence of not only but also, the verb agrees with the nearest one. Verb agrees with the nearest subject. So come back to the sentence. Not only the sinful and the innocent. And I mentioned that it seems that both the subjects are singular, but this is not the case. Both are plural. Now this is something that is very technical. Addition of definite article the with some adjectives as sinful, innocent, diseased, blind, dumb, deaf, poor, rich. Addition of definite article with the adjectives like these words that I have just listed before you make the whole expression plural. These are called adjectival plural nouns. Adjectival plural nouns, the noun phrases which are derived from adjectives. I repeat it in simple words. The addition of definite article the with the adjectives like the rich, poor, diseased, dumb, deaf, blind, sinful, innocent make the whole expression plural. So the sinful, the innocent, both are plural. neither of these subjects is singular. So whether the verb agrees with the nearest one or the farthest one does not matter here. But the rule says it has to agree with the nearest one. So we have to make it have, not has. Has was incorrect. Have is correct. All the students, plural, except the proctor, singular. The verb has to agree with the nearest one. Is, the nearest one, proctor, singular. Is, the verb is singular, so it is a correct expression. There is no doubt about it. The sentence is grammatically acceptable and accurate. Last two sentences. Not only the capital, but also other major cities has been. So not only but also, again, the presence of the connector dictates that the verb should agree with the nearest one. The capital, singular. Cities, plural. The nearest one is plural. Cities, has. Again, it is incorrect. Has is incorrect. It has to be made have. Have been affected. Why? Because the verb should agree with the nearest subject, major cities, plural subject. Study notes, plural, including any helpful material, singular. The verb must agree with the nearest one. The nearest one is material. Or the farthest one. What is the rule? Look at the screen. Now, what is the connector? Including, excluding. What is the rule? The rule says that the presence of including or excluding dictates that the verb should agree with the farthest one. So do not be confused. Now, the verb should agree with the notes, not material. Notes is plural. The verb is singular. Sentence is incorrect. Notes makes no. Notes make. Now it is correct. Make. Study notes, including any helpful material, make our work easier when we have to divide the same topic again and again. Okay, viewers, I hope this lecture was helpful as far as the choice of verb in the case of compound subject is concerned. In all these sentences, without any exception, the subject contained two elements at least. And I told you the choice of verb depends upon the choice of connector. If the connector is from any of these words in this list, the verb will agree with the first subject. And on the other hand, if the connector comes from any of these words, neither nor either or not only but also, the verb must agree with the nearest one. So this was the lecture. I hope you enjoyed it and you learned something from these words of mine. Till the next lecture, Allah Hafiz. Goodbye.